survey method is a method based on which many international companies are running, either in business or in politics or in international affairs or of course in social science studies. Let me tell you why. Because today people say that data has become more valuable than oil. And one of the easiest and best method to collect data on public opinion is through survey. Sorry. And survey is done not only in social sciences, everywhere. In engineering sciences, I have seen survey is much more important, either topologically for building a bridge or constructing a engineered site with the opinion of the people at large, or if you want to build a dam, if you want to open a mining industry. For everything, people have started taking the help of surveys. And many international companies have started big business by doing this survey utilizing internet. Question is it so simple? Probably not. People believe generally that, well, you have some questions, ask them, you will get the input and that becomes survey, which is not true. So to begin with, I'll give you some examples. Like Netflix has started, not only started, before they introduced it in Indian business, they did a very big survey. And it looks like this somewhat. I do not want to elaborate each of these questions, but it looks like this. And at times what happens, there are sections of people who do not read well, or those who do not understand English, but they understand their regional languages. So it's not often possible for people to translate them in regional languages. So they use non-verbal means or methods pictorially. So what you see in this screen is a non-verbal way of showing your level of satisfaction. If you go to airport, outside the airport toilet, you will find that there are certain stands where these kinds of symbols are given, and you are supposed to press one of them, depending upon what you felt. So survey is being done everywhere, either for governance, to understand public opinion, or for engineering knowledge. For example, I can do a survey. We do soil testing before we make big constructions and engineering sites. We do it for every small reason in the business. If we want to do a business, we also do a survey. The question is, how do we do it? Now, it's a data collection tool, as I said. Survey is basically a data collection tool, and you have certain questions. And the questions may be structured, may be unstructured, may be disguised, may be undisguised, whatever. It depends on your purpose, to which actually people respond based on their knowledge and experience. As simple as that. And this method is a standard method to access information from a defined group. You may think of doing the survey only in Calcutta or maybe Madras, or maybe in Bombay, or maybe in Delhi, depends upon your purpose. And as I said, it can be verbal and non-verbal. But the important part is this. When you do a survey, you can ask questions which are structured questions. That is, you clearly ask about your response. That how do you feel when you travel in Air India Express? Or it can be unstructured. That is, you give an open-ended kind of question that you are supposed to give your response without having any response alternatives. So that becomes unstructured. It can be undisguised. The question may be direct. You directly ask this question to the person. It can be disguised. That is, you ask a question to a person to tell what is the public opinion about a product. That's disguised. You are not talking about yourself. So if I am trying to understand the relative value of a given product, instead of directly asking you what is your opinion, you ask, how do you believe about the importance of this project or importance of this product by people all around you? I mean, you are not giving your opinion, you are giving people's opinion through this questionnaire. So it can be disguised, it can be undisguised, it can be structured, it can be unstructured. So the disguised way is a way, and disguised and unstructured way is a way through which we also ask interview questions. In fact, I'll talk about your interview next Monday because interview is a very important thing for all of you. You must also understand the nuances of interview and how interviews are conducted. So I have decided to talk about it on Monday differently. But either interview or survey, everything comes under typical social scientific method and under descriptive method. So we talked about descriptive method, exploratory method, explanatory method, and several ways we have discussed how data may be gathered through scientific process. So survey is a descriptive method through which we ask questions, either in a structured or unstructured manner, or in a disguised or a undisguised manner. Now, a typical survey question looks like this. If it is a structured means open-ended, closed-ended questions. That is, you ask the question directly. You look at this question. How likely are you to recommend our company's products or services? You will give response in 1 to 10 point scale. 10 is most likely, 1 is least likely. So it's a closed-ended question, which is a structured question. And if it is unstructured, what are the reasons? What are your reasons to choose our products? What are your opinions about our customer service agents? These are, you are not getting a response alternative to answer this question. So when the response alternatives are given, then it becomes closed-ended or structured. And when the response alternatives are not given, it becomes open-ended or unstructured. Another example I'm giving, because survey questionnaire is most often used by the business houses, more often used by the business houses. So suppose if you have to construct a survey questionnaire, instead of doing like this, you can construct it like this. The store is accessibly located. What is you are giving your opinion. You are directly not asking whether it has been accessible to you. So you can give your response in a structured manner. That is an indirect question, but a response is given in a structured manner. So survey questionnaire, the question may be indirect or direct. The response may be structured, unstructured, and you can get 4 such combinations in the process. We'll get to know about it in the following slides. But the major point I'm trying to tell you, if you are to construct a survey questionnaire, you have to look into two different parts. Whether I'm asking a direct question or an indirect question. Whether I'm giving a response alternative or I'm not giving a response alternative, I'm asking for open-ended. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. And you can have, with this 2x2 contingency, 4 different response options. It can be structured, closed-ended, structured, open-ended, unstructured, closed-ended, unstructured, open-ended. So that's the format you should keep in mind. And then how you interpret these findings is a different ballgame. So now let us see, if I have to construct a survey questionnaire, what are the steps I have got to follow? There are roughly 12 to 14 steps we have to follow. This is, as I said, not as simple as we think. So suppose I have to develop a survey questionnaire. This is the most common method researchers also use for pilot survey. Any pilot test you do, you actually follow some kind of survey in social sciences. Of course, as I said, in every science it is being used, not in physical science and too much, but in engineering sciences and social sciences it is being used more often. So the step number 1, when you do a survey questionnaire, you have to first understand, suppose we teach happiness in Reiki Center in the department of HSS. Now, suppose I want to know the well-being of the people during pandemic. Only yesterday I was talking to, I had an institute talk on well-being and how to develop new habits in face of the pandemic. So, and we are interested in knowing the well-being of the students, well-being of the people who are living in the campus. So when you do that, you just can't start in a vacuum. You have to first decide what kind of well-being you are looking into. Are you looking into physical well-being? Are you looking into social well-being? Are you looking into subjective well-being? I mean, these are different kinds of well-being. So at the outset, you have to understand that the thought process must be stratified or categorized into different heads. If I am interested, I'm giving you an example of well-being, therefore you will understand it better. Suppose I am interested in subjective well-being. How do I feel when I am in the campus? Then you have to decide, how this study would be done. Because whenever survey is done, survey is not done on 10 people, 20 people, or 50 people. Survey is generally done, if I have to do a survey, I have to do a proper sampling, and I must say, if there are 22 different halls, we have to develop a work breakdown structure. We have to have several groups through which I'll collect data. So we make a plan, and then we decide about a technique. And the technique may be, as I said, it may be structured, unstructured, it may be disguised, undisguised. So the technique needs to be decided in the 3rd step. And in the 4th step, suppose I decide the framework. So IIT Kharagpur with all halls under the study frame. If there are 22 halls, I have decided to keep everything under one frame. So I'll decide how people feel when they are in the campus, because last 1.5 years, many people were not in the campus. Now students have come back, and I am interested in knowing how do they feel when they come back. Then you decide about the domains, that what are those domains where you, suppose you are interested in doing social well-being. But within social well-being also, there are many domains. How do you feel is a very open-ended manner. Suppose you want to develop some structured questionnaire. Then what would be the question? Social domain means what? Are you talking about teacher-student relationship? Are you talking about a student-student relationship? Are you talking about student and other staff member relationship. What kind of relationship you are thinking about? You take expert opinion because many a time we believe that we will be able to frame a good question, but that's not true. You do some kind of exploratory study. Why this pilot survey is to be done before you do the real survey? Because you never know whether people are getting the meaning of your questions or not. So when it is a medical questionnaire like this, the meaning is very easy. Do you have blood pressure, high blood pressure? Yes or no? That's very straight. That kind of pilot, that kind of survey is a very clear survey. But if you try to do something in social or other kinds of sciences, which are mostly subject based on subjective feeling, then you have to do some kind of pilot survey because the same sentence may have different meaning to different people. I'm sorry. Yeah. The second, the next stage is design of questionnaire. How you design the questionnaire. That is, who are the target respondents? What would be the content? What would be the format? Are you asking the question in a question format or in a statement format? For example, I want to know whether hostel food is good in the campus or not. So I can ask a question, I like hostel food. Or it can be a different one. Do you like hostel food? What is the content? Are you talking about hostel food? Are you talking about library? Are you talking about gymkhana? Are you talking about the classroom? Are you talking about online teaching paradigm? What is the content for which you are interested in social well-being? So the format is important, the content is important, then the target respondents. Target respondent may be the first year students or first semester student and the fourth semester student if you want to make a comparison. Are you doing some kind of domain definition that what is that well-being you mean to say? Well-being as a concept, I'm giving you some example. Well-being as a concept is a domain. Now that domain has to be defined. Are you talking about a domain like whether I like the classroom or not? Are you talking about the infrastructure of the classroom or teaching learning process, that you have got all the facilities in the classroom, which is called affluence? But then the second thing comes about autonomy, that when you run a class, whether student teacher have got the autonomy to interact with each other or not, or it's just a one-way process. So it can be affluence, it can be autonomy, it can be appreciation, that after the teacher-student interaction takes place, what kind of feeling you get. So well-being you are measuring in terms of the affluence, in terms of the autonomy, or in terms of the appreciation they have. So these are the different domain. Which domain? The appreciation domain, autonomy domain, or affluence domain. I'm just giving you an example. It can be about a product. So if you have a product, suppose a particular soap. Now the product, whether you like it or not, it can be a one sentence question. But the product has got different domains that after you use the soap, do you feel good? Do you find, it can be a physical domain. Do you find your skin getting badly treated? Do you think that your skin getting, well treated? There are different domains. You can talk about those domains. Then method of reaching target respondent. How are you going to do that? We'll talk about it after this slide. That you are going to mail this survey, you are going to do a telephone survey, you are going to do a personal interview. In which method? Since we'll be talking about the method in the next slide, I'm not going into detail of it. Then the questionnaire structure, as I said, first person, that is directly ask this question, or you can ask with a simple structure with a prompt. You have to make it jargon free. You can make color code for anchors. Color code for anchors means if you like very much, you may give a color code of green. If you do not like at all, you can give a color code of red. So it should be for the ease of the people who are giving you the response. Otherwise, you will not get response. Then the response structure. It would be a 3-point rating scale or a 5-point rating scale or a 7-point rating scale. That has to be decided. Then you design the sampling, how you are going to do it, probability sampling. The IIT has got over 12,000 students. And if you have to know, if you have to learn whether the students' well-being are, how well the well-being of the students in the campus, you may not do it for 12,000. You may do it for 1,200 people. I mean, that should be enough, 1,200. But who are those 1,200 people? You need to do proper sampling. Sampling is a technique which will be, which is also part of your syllabus. We'll talk about it. There are various kinds of sample. There are random sampling, stratified sampling, quota sampling. There are different kinds of. If you are doing random sampling, it means you have to choose from each hostel through a random selection method some people, maybe 100 people from each hostel, maybe 50 people from each hostel. But who are those 50 people? There must be some method behind it. After that, you collect data. The data may come through interview, data may come through paper, data may come through your internet. You collect data, you code them, you analyze them with statistics, and then you come out with an index, which is well-being index or a happiness index. So those statistical data are converted into a standard score, which we call Z score, a percentile, or any other form. I have given you an example that after collecting data by a business house, the customer satisfaction score is like this. Very dissatisfied is a color code, very, as I said, red. Very satisfied is a color code which is green. So, well, the survey method is not so difficult to understand. It's no rocket science, but it requires certain methods, certain procedures to be followed. That is, right from domain definition to collection of data to analysis and to come out with the index, it follows certain procedure. But remember, this is not psychometry. This is just a method. When you do psychometry, that is like there are a lot of tests which are available. Suppose I want to know your personality. I mean, I cannot do a survey to know your personality. In order to understand something of that sort, you have to do a psychometric test. Can I survey your intelligence level? I can't do that. Can I understand your, some statistical index which is not directly related to survey? The survey is a method through which you get some superficial data for which we do not calculate either reliability or validity of this score. Reliability means if you do the same survey to the same set of population, are you going to get the same results, which is the consistency of finding? We don't test it in survey, but when we do reliability and when we do validity, we enrich its level to psychometry. Psychometry or questionnaire method is also part of your syllabus. I'll take up those classes separately. But remember, survey is not psychometry. Psychometry is a questionnaire method in which you test the reliability through statistical process, you test the validity of it, and then only you make a conclusion. So the conclusion of a psychometric test is much more generalizable. But in survey method, it is not generalizable. You only make a description. So what I mean to say, description is different from inference. If you have to make inference, then you have to enhance its level to psychometry. But if you want to simply make a description of how people feel or what is people's opinion, then in that case, you do a survey method. That's why survey method is a descriptive method. Now, as I said, survey method, you can classify survey research method into, different ways. It can be a personal interview. You can do survey through personal interview. You can do through telephone interview. You can do, self-administered interview. The degree and structure of disguise I've already discussed with you. It may be structured disguised, structured undisguised, unstructured disguised, and unstructured undisguised. The most difficult part is unstructured undisguised, because in interview, when you are asking, when I try to survey a group of people, suppose I'm taking an interview to know the well-being of the people in the campus. So suppose I'm your teacher and I have asked you to come and give your opinion through interview, not through any other paper or pencil test. Interview. And I ask you this question. What is your opinion about the campus? Do you feel good? Now this is unstructured as well as, disguised. In the sense, I'm not asking you a structured response from you. You give an open-ended response. And when you give an open-ended response, it's difficult to, collect such a data from 20 or 100 people and then come out with a definitive conclusion. The conclusion becomes generally qualitative if it is fully unstructured and undisguised. But if it is structured and undisguised, then it becomes, you can numerically calculate it and come out with an index through statistical process. You can do the survey on cross-sectional survey or longitudinal survey. Longitudinal survey is a survey where when you join this institute as a first year student to last semester, maybe 7th or 8th semester, if I take the survey on each of these semester from you about your well-being, it becomes a longitudinal survey. But if I do a cross-sectional survey, then what I will do, in the existing group of population, I'll take some first year students, I'll take some second year students, I'll take some third year students, and some fourth year students. So I'll do it in 4 different groups at the same temporal time frame. So temporal time frame, if it is the identical or within the same period, then it becomes cross-sectional survey. But if you are doing it on the same set of population over a period of time, then it becomes a longitudinal survey. So phone survey, online survey, and in-person interviews. These are the 3 most common ways people do survey. Phone survey has to be done when you have got very high confidence on people. You know them, and then you ask about a question. Otherwise, people are not going to answer it. But in such case, when you do it in large number, you can't do it by yourself. You have to hire an agency, because there are dedicated agencies in this country who do phone survey. Online surveys, you can do it. You can do it. Accuracy of data can also be very good, but you need internet. That's the only negative point. If you do not have internet, people, you may be able to send questions, but people will not be able to answer. Suppose in a village, you want to know, post-pandemic well-being condition. People may not have internet. If you do in-person interviews, then it's a very time-consuming process, but it's a very in-depth process. Why it is in-depth? Because in-person interviews are we generally ask questions in in-person interviews, which are open-ended questions, and for which we do not ask for any definitive structured answer, 1, 2, 3, 4, or we don't give them a rating scale. Generally, interviews are open-ended. We'll talk about interview in great deal and how to handle interview. Since these are important for all of you, how to handle interview, I'll take it up separately, as I said, next week. Now, interviews, as I said, yes. Yes.
So can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
Yeah, sir, can you explain once more, what is the meaning of disguised and undisguised in structured and unstructured? I mean, that is not clear to me.
Okay. When you talk about structured and unstructured, it's about the response alternatives. If it is open-ended, there is no response alternative. I mean, I'm asking about your impression. It becomes open-ended thing. unstructured. But if I ask you to give your response in 5-point rating scale, it becomes structured. Am I clear?
Yes, sir, that is clear. I just wanted to know the meaning of disguised and undisguised.
Disguised and undisguised. Undisguised means I directly ask a question. What is your feeling about the campus facilities? I'm asking you. But if I ask you this question, how the students in campus feel about the well-being of their post-pandemic rehabilitation. I'm not. So when I directly ask it, I may ask you, look, you don't have to talk about anybody else. You talk about your feeling. It's a direct answer. But if I ask you this question in an interview, what do you think about the people in the campus? Are they really happy? I'm not asking your happiness. I'm asking your opinion about others' happiness. You got my point, no?
Yes, sir, I got it. Good.
Okay. But this can be done in various ways. The unstructured ways are actually basically it's a projective technique. You can do it in a semi-projective manner. You can also do it disguised question in a structured manner, semi-projective manner. Someday I'll talk about it as well if you are interested. Okay. So you can do interviews. Interview is a technique. As I said, next week I'll take a full class on that. You can have a focus group technique. We have discussed about it. Focus group technique are conducted in person as well. You have a small number of people. I mean, where you like focus group can also be like a participatory appraisal method. In participatory appraisal method, actually you get a large number of people. The focus group people are people who are really afflicted to it, who really have this problem. So the group is small, but demographically diverse. That is, every housewife from a village, you select some of them from a diverse background, and then you collect data from them, because you generally get a moderator. You see, in this particular case, this person is a moderator. This person is moderating and somebody is jotting it down. So even if you, because if you get a tape recorder of what they have been saying, that's a privacy violation, and you have to have ethical clearance before you actually take them. So focus group is also a method through which you can do survey. You can do telephone survey. Most telephone researches are conducted through random digit dialing. I mean, there are companies, these are many companies which are doing it through computer assisted telephonic interview. These days we are getting a lot of telephone calls by such companies who have been doing it. You can do a mail-in survey. Mail-in surveys are the most, this method has been more often used by people. I mean, these are delivered right at the respondent's doorstep. Mail surveys are frequently used. Before the advent of the internet, at that point of time, there was, when there was no internet, you used to get an envelope, and on that envelope you were supposed to give some answers and return it, because the postage was already there in mail-in service. So that method has now become obsolete. Nobody does that.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Sir, the telephone survey you have mentioned that they do actually random digit dialing. Sir, do they actually do this in random digit dialing, or they actually buy our credential from some other third parties and they do that? They
do both ways. Both ways. Earlier, they used to do it in random digit dialing, because if you have got certain dialed numbers, suppose 6-digit numbers, they used to do it, and then because that's called true randomness. But these days they don't do it random digit dialing. They do it by the method as you have been saying. Okay. Earlier they used to do it by random digit dialing, but no longer these are being done. Good point.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, in case of unstructured questionnaire, structured questionnaire, sir, if I frame a question and in the response there are 4 options, but I have given him 4 options, so can it be considered as a structured questionnaire? A,
Look,
B, C, D,
the options are generally odd number. Generally not 4. Generally 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, but there are even numbers as well. Number 1. Number 2, anything beyond 3 can be considered as a structured response alternative. Yes or no is generally given for understanding the presence or absence of a particular event, factual event. But if you have to give your subjective feeling, then it has to be minimally 3. So if you give 4, definitely it becomes a structured response alternative.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I have a question. Like, if we have a structured questionnaire, then we have a rating scale on 3, 5, or 7, whatever it is. So it will be quite easy to calculate quantitatively data. But in case of unstructured, we don't know how the person who is in the sample can answer it. So how can we analyze those data?
Good. There are at least 7 methods to do analyze that data, qualitative data. The most prevalent, frequent method that we do is called content analysis. Content analysis is a content. Suppose I ask you about how do you feel in the campus when you come back. Now you give an open-ended, suppose 5, 6 line answer. I will simply count, for example, how many good words you have said and how many bad words you have said. Okay. And then this is called conceptual data analysis. And then I can do a relational analysis that you have said 5 good and 10 bad. We would like to see whether the overall variance of goodness is better, more as compared to overall badness about 10 that you have said. So the number of word counts, good words, good adjectives, bad adjectives, whatever you have counted. You can also see a significant difference between these 2 numbers and then come to a conclusion. This is called content analysis. But there are discourse analysis, there are conversational analysis, there are grounded theory analysis, there are narrative analysis. There are different analytical techniques of the qualitative methods when it is open-ended. And Dr. Rishabh Rai will be talking about these qualitative techniques by the end of the statistical technique. So this is much more difficult. The qualitative data analysis is much more difficult. We try to avoid that. In psychological sciences, there are many techniques which are available. Based on picture description, we try to analyze the data very scientifically, and there are softwares today available to analyze such data, content analysis. A lot of softwares are also available. So no worry, if you are taking open-ended data, it may be easy to collect the data, but analysis becomes difficult. Clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
If you are interested, qualitative data analysis, just put it in Google, you will get at least 9 methods. The most convenient method is called content analysis, which I said, but the difficult methods are called discourse analysis, narrative analysis, grounded theory analysis, phenomenological analysis, discourse analysis. I mean, there are various methods, and all these methods tell how an open-ended response needs to be calculated. So kiosk surveys, we have already talked about that. You have to simply press a button, you like it or don't like it. But online surveys are some survey which you have been doing more often. I mean, you frame a questionnaire, you put it in a software like GoDaddy type of software, you send it to everybody, they respond to it, you collect it. Seems to be very easy, but not so easy. I mean, in the sense that There are big chances that people don't respond it carefully. There are good chances people respond to it halfway. There are good chances that people respond in a socially desirable manner, that you are responding what you are interested in listening to rather than what you actually feel. So a lot of difficulties are there in online surveys which can be avoided in personal interviews. But a personal interview is also very difficult because you can't reach out to 1,000 people. So at times, depending upon the kind of problem you have in hand, you do online survey, or you do interview, you do kiosk survey. Like as I said, in every airport, in every supermarket these days, you get a kiosk survey. You simply press it. You liked it or didn't like it. That becomes anonymous type, and people do not fall into socially desirable response pattern. So every method has its own advantages and disadvantages. Lot of business houses have been doing a survey method like customer satisfaction. They try to understand through survey, because business houses are interested in knowing who are committed customer, who are repeat purchaser, and who are satisfied buyer. Satisfied buyer means somebody who gets the stuff whenever you ask for, is called satisfied. Repeat purchaser are those who keep on coming in the same shop for the same product. It's a repeat purchaser. But committed customer are those customers who get a wrong product, a damaged product, yet he comes back and he says, no, I'll go for the same brand only. I mean, they are committed purchasers. So whether you are a committed person, a repeat purchaser, or a satisfied purchaser, generally it is seen through surveys. Net Promoter Score is a score where people ask this question, whether you would like to recommend this company to others or not, in a 1 to 10 point scale. These are apparently very easy. You give it to thousands of people and then finally calculate how many, what is the Net Promoter Score for your product or company. If you fall into 9 to 10 category, then you are actually promoting that product to many people. But these people, the red side people, they don't promote, they are detractors. They don't promote the product at all. And some are passive, they don't bother. Don't to know type of thing. So people do Net Promoter Score through this survey. People also see business houses churn rate, that is how many customers you lose over time. In the beginning of the year, you had suppose 1,000 customers, or beginning of the month, you have got 50 customers. But in the end of the month, how many customers you are getting back is called churn rate. That also you see through some kind of surveys. So different methods business houses have been using in order to come out with some kind of index, because it's important that we get an index. As long as the index we don't get it, it remains qualitative and becomes difficult to interpret. So survey has its own advantages, survey has its own disadvantages. Advantage is that low cost and highly versatile, you can use it. That's why all over the world, people have been using survey in order to understand the public opinion. You can access large amount of data, it's very easy to understand because you get an index, and the format is now known because this is a scientific method. The disadvantage is that you send it to 1,000 people, but you get response only of 150 people. A lot of valid, invalid responses may come. Some questions, that's why I say you need to do a pilot survey. Some questions maybe you wanted to put it in a disguised manner about a particular domain, but the questions were not framed properly. So it's important to understand whether people understand your questions or not. And it lacks the richness. Richness means the reliability and validity of the survey method is not tested. If you have to test the reliability and validity of the survey, then you have to do a psychometric test. As I said, that whether this campus, the students are generally very extrovert or introvert, I cannot do a survey. I have to do a psychometric test. And a psychometric metric means when there is a metric analysis of your subjective experience, Then it becomes a psychometric test for which we have got reliability. We have to test reliability, that is the consistency of responses, and the validity, that is whether I am measuring what I am truly interested in or it is measuring something else. So reliability and validity are two, and the norm, the normative pattern. These are certain special requirements of psychometric test which we do not have in survey design. Therefore, it lacks the richness. Finally,
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, how do we perform psychometric analysis?
How do we conduct psychometric analysis?
Yes, sir.
For that, the methods are, you have to have a richer method. Richer method means survey method is generally done. Do you understand scaling? Nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale?
Yes, sir. 4 types of scale.
Very good. So if you know scaling, survey is done only up to ordinal scale. But psychometric tests are generally done at the interval level. Okay, number one. Number two, psychometric test should be done using the reliability index, validity index, and normative table. Because if you have to make a comparison, you have to make a comparison through a normative baseline. We'll talk about it is there in your syllabus. So I'll come back to psychometric. I myself will teach you psychometry. And at that point of time, you would be able to compare between what survey method is all about. Survey can be done by anybody, those who have not read research methodology, but some ideas at least. You see, every day in the newspaper, whatever you get is a survey result. So journalists are making very big use of it. Business houses are making very big use of it. Do you think that they have got huge research methodological knowledge? They may be having some people who are, expert in that, but normally it does not require very high level of expertise. Okay. So when you, these are some statistics I have given. People have found those who are doing survey, because there are many survey companies and they are billionaires, they are millionaires, like Gallup, Pew, Global Survey, Pearson in this country. A lot of big companies are there. A lot of people have come up with startups with survey company, because if you know the science properly, you can actually reach out to millions and you can gather data, analyze it, and then you submit it. This is a good startup initiative by many companies. So 34% of the people, they take survey because of some kind of incentive. 67% people say they complete at least half of the feedback surveys they receive. If they are getting 10 different surveys in a month, the 4 or 5, they generally fill it. 91% prefer to complete feedback survey online, not through other means, telephone, mail, kiosk. They want online, because most of them have got access to mobile or laptops, so they do it online. 45% are not willing to spend more than 5 minutes. So remember, if you have to do a survey and if you have got 200 questions, what will happen? They will give only 5 minutes, not more than that. Suppose I am flying in an aircraft and I am getting a survey questionnaire, I can respond. I can spend at best 5 minutes if I have got leisure time, at best. 87% prefer answering multiple choice over open-ended questions. As I said, open-ended means you have to give a lot of responses. You have to tell your stories. People don't want to tell about their private feeling openly. So they want a multiple choice type. And also 40% think companies pay only a moderate amount of attention to their feedback. That is, 40% of the respondents believe that whatever survey you give, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, companies do what they would like to do. This is the feeling of 40% of people. So the problem is that in survey technique, you have got a prediction urge. By doing a survey, you start making a prediction, which should never be done. Some people believe that it's a very simple thing. So it's called simplification urge. Some people develop illusory expertise. That is, they do not understand the methodology. They start making use of it and then they believe that they become an expert. Some people do it very sloppy manner, just send their internet survey and without talking to anyone or without following the method. Some people oversell it, and as a result of which the survey results are more prone to error and bias. That is, you do not know what kind of mistakes you are making, and even if you are making a mistake, you do not develop insight into that, which is called bias. So error and bias. So these are the pitfalls of the survey method. You must be cautious. If you are in the research methodology class, then you can definitely follow all such steps that I have said it to you, told it to you. If you follow that, definitely you would be able to get rid of such pitfalls. Thank you.